Hello, and welcome to Make a Difference, the show about how volunteers are making a difference every day right here in Montgomery County. I'm your host, Sandy Smith, and we welcome you here via Zoom due to the ongoing pandemic crisis. As we prepare to give thanks and shop for our special dinners, it is important to remember that not all of us will have food to eat. There are many families in Montgomery County that go hungry every day. Today, we will be speaking with Heather Bruskin, Executive Director of the Montgomery County Food Council. Hello, Heather. We're pleased to have you today.
Hi, Sandy. It's such a pleasure to be with you. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
To begin with, Heather, why don't you explain to us what the Food Council is and your mission?
Yes. So the Food Council is an independent 501c3, so we're a nonprofit organization founded 9 years ago that serves as the primary convener of government leaders and agencies, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and residents around food system issues in our county. So we build an equitable, resilient, and sustainable local food system through collaboration, transformation, and cultivation towards the vision of a vibrant and equitable food system that's healthy for our community, economy, and environment. So we have a small staff of 10 who work in partnership with 25 volunteer council members, a board of directors, and over 400 community partners who engage regularly in our 4 working groups and primary initiatives around food access, food economy, education, and the environmental impact of our food system. However, we regularly convene outside of those silos to make sure that our programmatic and advocacy work is as collaborative, streamlined, and systems focused as possible.
So you offer so many different various programs. Could you tell us a little bit about your programs, your programming?
Absolutely. So our goal is really to serve as that central connection point for people who share that same vision and are connected to our mission-based work of systems-oriented thinking to address food system issues in our county. So we do everything from addressing support for the over 100,000 residents in our county who are at risk for hunger, including over 40,000 children. We work with our food and beverage businesses, including our farms that are right here in Montgomery County. So over 80 different businesses that are bringing jobs to our communities and increasing access to local food by connecting these businesses to new markets and also bringing them the resources that they need to grow and succeed. We also connect education opportunities so that residents can learn more about growing their own food, nutritious ways of consuming it, and also cooking skills and workforce development opportunities to build access to economic opportunities through food. And then finally, looking at the way that we consume and dispose of food and how that impacts our natural resources and our land, water, and air through strategies like expanding food waste composting. So we have a variety of working groups that are open to the public and meet each month around these 4 main issue areas. And we encourage everybody to join us and learn more about these topics. If it's something that you're passionate about, there's lots of ways to get engaged and learn more about the exciting work that's happening both in our county and our region on these topics. In particular, we have been working really closely with our county government and over 120 food assistance provider partners in the county, as well as local farms and other partners to coordinate the COVID-19 food security response, recognizing that our pandemic resulted in over 50% increase in hunger in our community. And there's so much work that we have to do to build our resilience looking into the future. And so we've been working with the Food Security Task Force as the county's co-lead nonprofit partner in implementing over $24 million in strategies to help make sure all of our neighbors have access to safe, sufficient, nutritious, and culturally appropriate food.
So you mentioned COVID and these unprecedented times. Obviously, you seem to have found that there's a greater demand for food. And have you found that there are more resources available for those in need, or has it sort of, because of the pandemic, waned off? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, for about 3 years, the Food Council worked with the county government and again, hundreds of community partners to implement the food security plan. And that was a national model of a local government in partnership with the nonprofit sector, creating and implementing a strategy to build our networks as to address food insecurity in our community. And that laid critical groundwork for us to mobilize what's really being held up in the region as the successful response to that hunger crisis emerging from the pandemic. So in a lot of ways, we were strong going into the crisis and we're able to build on those networks. So for example, the Food Council created our food assistance resource map. And that is a resource that we have available online, update regularly. That's one-stop shopping to learn about all the different food assistance resources that are available in our community. And that tool has been accessed over 25,000 times during the pandemic. So that existing network of provider partners that we've been convening was able to quickly be activated and built up with new capacity, including grants and other tools and resources so that they could serve more people really quickly. We also every other week bring together our food security community in a community call to connect them to each other in a community of practice, recognizing they each have tools and resources to share with each other and learn to better serve our community as a whole, and that we're stronger together as a community. So creating those spaces for connections and resource sharing has been really important. Now, as we're looking to transition from response to recovery, we're looking at those lessons learned and saying we were strong in 2019 through the work that we've been doing collectively as a community, we're even stronger. But how can we be sure that we build on those lessons learned, see that as a silver lining, that we can learn from those experiences and that traumatic experience as a community to look into the future and build resilience more holistically. So a lot of the investments that we made during COVID were in building our infrastructure. So everything from transportation for our food assistance providers, trucks and forklifts, as well as storage like cold storage and storage for shelf stable goods, as well as building the infrastructure of our local food producers. So investing through a farm to food bank program that was a partnership with our county's Office of Agriculture and Manna Food Center to invest in over 30 farms, buying product directly from them, as well as making grants to them to extend their growing season and their assets as a food producer, recognizing that's a key piece of our resilience as well. We know that if it's not a pandemic, climate change or other challenges to our community are going to further impact our ability to access and distribute food. We're seeing that right now in the news related to supply chain issues that are making it really difficult to for both institutions as well as everyday households to purchase food. And we're seeing that as well in the overall cost of living and the cost of groceries. And so all these pieces are interconnected. And that's why taking a systems-based approach and pulling on the expertise and tools and knowledge of all these different partners to come up with systems-based solutions is going to be really important. So I'm proud of the work that we're done, and I'm even more excited about the work that we have ahead.
So how do residents find these resources? How do they reach out to you and find and even know what it is they're looking for? How do we do that?
Right. So while we were building the capacity of our provider network, and I think it's important to note that about half of our food assistance provider partners are from faith-based community organizations. And in the pandemic, we saw many groups that weren't doing food distributions before, or maybe only had a small pantry in their faith community space. They grew their programs in response to the pandemic, recognizing that so many neighbors were, for the first time, turning to community organizations for help to feed their families. And so that led to a challenge to make sure that we knew where all these providers were so that we can better communicate information about their programs and services to the broader community, and not just communicating it in one way, but having a very diverse communication strategy to ensure that we could reach as many residents as possible. So in partnership with the county government and the Food Security Task Force, there's been a text line that's been set up so that residents can regularly receive texts to get information about about where food assistance resources are available. And you can get signed up for some of this by reaching out to 311. There also is a food access call center set up that supported over 4,000 residents in finding out what food assistance resources are available to them as well. All of these different providers, they send us flyers. We share those on social media. And then we also maintain that map that I talked about before, as well as work with the county government to maintain a calendar on their website of all the different food assistance resources that are available on a day-to-day basis. There's so much good work happening in the county, but we want to make sure that residents are available, and also working with partner organizations, those that do cross-sector work in housing and in healthcare and in other resident services, so that they're aware of the resources that are available so they can refer residents as well. And that strong referral network is really critical, as well as partners and organizations providing language appropriate services, because information that's only shared on technology platforms and in one language isn't going to meet the needs of our incredibly diverse county. And so making sure that our communications are culturally appropriate has been really critical as well. So on our website, www.mocofoodcouncil.org, you can find a lot of information, including that resource map for where different food assistance sites are located. But then also joining our community call every other week will allow residents to hear a little bit more about the stories behind these different resources that are available, as well as advocacy opportunities for getting involved. Because one thing that we've seen during the pandemic is that to develop a really comprehensive and successful response to address food insecurity, we need the voices of residents to guide and inform the policies and programs that are being developed. And so that's a big part of what the Food Council does, is ensure that community voice and expertise is leading the way in the work that we're doing.
So there are going to be a lot of people that would like to get involved. Does the Food Council itself offer volunteer opportunities, or do you recruit for your partners, or both?
Well, we do a little bit of both. So as I shared before, we have 25 volunteer council members, and these are subject matter experts, both within the food sector as well as some outside of food, but bringing expertise that's critical to look at food from a systems-based perspective. And so each year we recruit for these council members, as well as for our community advisory board. And this Food Security Community Advisory Board has 15 members who either currently or in the past have experienced food insecurity and bring that firsthand expertise and knowledge of experiencing food insecurity to inform both the Food Council's work, including our advocacy and program-based strategies, but broader throughout our county government and county community, to ensure that everything we're developing is rooted and informed by that expertise. And so it is a volunteer experience in some ways, but we also ensure through compensation to our members that they're receiving some recognition of the work and expertise that they're investing, because their time is really valuable. So we're currently recruiting actually for our community advisory board, and information about that is on our website as well. We also have those working groups that I talked about before. Our food security community call is every other week and open to the public. All of our meetings right now are virtual. We also have our environmental impact working group, our food economy working group, and our food education working group that are also open to the public, and we invite everybody to come and join those. So there's lots of ways to get involved. And we also regularly host trainings that are open to the public. And while those are focused on the volunteers and staff of other community organizations, it's a great way to learn more about what's happening in our community and the resources that are available. So every single resident and community partner can be an advocate in your neighborhood, in your family, and in your network to help connect residents to and spread awareness both of these issues as well as the resources that are available. So really pretty often, every month or two, we have a food security resource navigation training. Encourage everybody to check that out, and more information is available about that on our website. But then we also have a list on our website of ways to get involved with our partner organizations. And so in addition to those 120 food assistance providers, there's a variety of other food-based programs that are out there that are dependent on volunteer contributions. And so there's lots of ways to get involved. It just depends if you're more interested in direct service or being a community advocate. But either way, everybody has a role to play in transforming our food system, and we're excited to help connect people to those opportunities.
Wonderful. You've summed everything up. Thank you so much, Heather. You have been a wealth of information today. I really appreciate your time and thank you for visiting with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandy. I so appreciate the leadership that you provide and connecting residents to critical volunteer opportunities. Montgomery County is an incredible place to do this work, and I'm looking forward to our partnership.
Great, thank you. If you're interested in volunteer opportunities, please go to our website, montgomeryserves.org. I'm your host, Sandy Smith, and I would like to stress that it is important for us to remember that people need to eat every day and not just during the holidays. So keep that in mind. And thank you for joining us, and let's be sure to make a difference.